Well, hello and welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with everybody today. Today is October 7th, 2020, and this is your Team Prosperity Wednesday meeting. I've put together some stuff that I hope will be valuable for everybody, and then I know Mike's got a great presentation, so we'll just go ahead and just jump right into it. The last quarter of the year. We're in October already. I can't believe it. It's been such an eventful 2020. I'm really hoping that everybody's ramping up and things are going really, really well in your business. I want to talk about the week. I wanted to talk about what does everybody's day look like. I'm going to talk a little bit about my day and about what I'm doing that's working for me. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is LinkedIn and how it leads to phone calls. So as we connect with people and send those intro messages for an intro call, that's going to be a big part of getting people on the phone. But then 7 to 10 days later, when we send the help message based on what they do, that's going to give you a lot of feedback as well. But the most important part of it is follow up, right? You have to build your own system because people will be like, yeah, I want to talk, but you want to make sure that you get them scheduled. And then you follow up. So the how many works message is also, a great message to gather up a few more people to talk to. But I'm telling you, the first two, the intro and the help, they're going to get you a lot of people looking back to talk with you. So just keep doing it. And then actual LinkedIn engagement, I think, is really underrated. I just wanted to give an example of, this was yesterday. I found a really good Gary V post that just talked about, how can somebody maintain a professional LinkedIn presence. And he just talks about being yourself. And I commented about, being authentic, real, raw. That's what everybody wants to see. We're all human. We all have differences, bad days, struggles. Overcoming those struggles is where our true power and beauty lies. And I got a lot of likes about it. So I just took it. I made a post out of it. So, as things come to my mind or to your mind, just make a post out of it. I mean, this went to my Facebook, my business Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Instagram. The same thing got shared 5 times. So I'm not really thinking about what to post from social media to social media. It's pretty much the same post. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's what I'm doing, and that's what gets more eyes on what I'm about. Also, I've really kind of established different follow-ups for different people. This is like a screenshot of my calendar. You could see I've got short little follow-ups here today that I'm going to be moving over day by day. So that's what I do is I move people from day to day until they're resolved, and I do that using the CRM calendar weekly view. If they're going to be a strong candidate, they're worth chasing, right? So that's going to require more follow-ups. And that's going to be up to you how many follow-ups you want to schedule. Like, if they tell me a general okay or sounds good to an intro call, I'll follow up with them 4 or 5 times to try to schedule it. If they say, yeah, let's chat tomorrow, let's chat next week, I'll give them more follow-ups, maybe 6 or 7 follow-ups or more to get them scheduled. And it could just be a quick, message on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to, be something that really takes up a lot of time. And then I move them from my follow-up list to my scheduled list on my Google Sheet, and then I have a 12-week year and my daily activity on the same Google Sheet too, and I'll show that to you right now. So this is what it looks like. I think I had about 65 LinkedIn follow-ups that I was trying to schedule into an intro call. I got through about 2/3 of them yesterday. I blocked out their name and their phone numbers, for their convenience and part of their stuff over here, but really what I do is they go from the intro call list to the calendarly meeting list, So I just copy and paste them from one list to the other. And then on my calendarly list, I put, all their information, their name, their phone number, their email, what time zone they're in, as well as when they scheduled for. So I know about, what time range works for them. And then if they put in a note or a note from me, I'll put a little bit of a note. And then this is what my other spreadsheet looks like, my 12-week plan and then my daily activity. So that's how I get organized, and I can always look to see what categories I missed. Another great tool is Facebook. I don't think we realize how easy it is to keep in front of people. It's a free tool. Open up conversations. you know, especially lately on birthdays or family and kid events, anniversaries, you can, you know, send a private message. Hey, I thought it was your anniversary today. It looks like you had fun at the restaurant. What's going on with you? You know, it's a little bit more of a warmer touch to start some conversation, but people want to know what you're doing. People want to know what you're excited about. Also, if they're active on LinkedIn, if you're active on Facebook and they're active on Facebook too, they're going to see your activity, and that's an easy way to stay in front of them too. You can also like or comment or say something on one of their posts, and that kind of reminds them, oh yeah, I need to follow up with Alana. And then posting, of course. Examples of a few conversations that I had this week and kind of where they went, you know, from the intro call. So one example was Colin. I thought maybe he would be interested in the business, but no, he's got a new wife, a new house, and a new job. So he's just learning the new job. So I was excited to show him what we do on the client side and just let him know, hey, keep in mind, this is a great business. If you want an additional stream of revenue, you get comfortable at your new job, you want to do something additional, keep in the back of your mind that this is a really great business. But Mike will be meeting with him and his wife in the next week or so. Janina is another example. She initially responded to an insurance help call. By the time I finally got her scheduled, she no longer is even an agent. She's actually now a supervisor of a call center. So I just tried to get to know her a little bit more, and I found out that she's a single mom that lives in Florida, and her goals are to move to New York. So I asked her, you know, does your business have a branch in New York where you could be a supervisor? And she said, no, I can be an agent again, but I have to stay in Florida to be a supervisor. So I was like, well, let me send you some information about something you can do on the side, and you can build on the side that's yours, and you can do it from anywhere, you know. So you just never know where the conversation starts to where it's going to go. If you really listen to people and you find out what are their goals, what are their pain points, what are they trying to do, and then how can we add value if we can add value. And then you're going to get a lot of calls like I got this morning that just kind of went nowhere. This guy, James, he had a very nice but hard to understand British accent, 75 years old. You know, he's financially set, got no debt, he's got no interest in doing anything, doesn't really want to monetize his network. So I still sent him the info and said, hey, if you run into somebody, they're looking for something, here's the information we talked about. But, you know, sometimes it's going to go nowhere. You're going to get this, and that's okay too. And then my last example that I give you, and then I'll you know, finish up and bring up Mike. Max, he started as a possible partner, and he went through my 3-step example I'll show you on the next page. So he reviewed the info, followed up the next day, same time, wasn't really sure, wanted more info, followed up the next day, same time. He was a 7 or an 8 when I asked him from 1 to 10. So I said, well, let's look at what the client sees. So let's do that. And now he's becoming a client. You know, so you just never know where these conversations are going to go. This is my 3-step approach that I was talking about. So after I have the intro call, I'll send the info, I'll follow up about the same time tomorrow. Pretty easy. That gives me a little bit of a range of time. I ask them, what did you like best? If they're not super enthusiastic, I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are they? If they're going to be a 6, 7, or an 8, I'm going to send the additional info, call them back the next day about the same time. If they're not ready to sign up, I'm going to see if they want to see what the client sees. Or dump if not interested. I mean, how many times are we going to follow up with people, right? Initially, to schedule them and talk to them, that makes sense. But after you've talked to them, there's no point in pulling people through that you don't think are going to be a good fit. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to us. We really want to set up everybody for success. And part of that is finding the right candidates that can be successful. So this will be my last slide, and then I'll bring up Mike. This is my activity that I actually did yesterday. Between my appointments, between all the company and corporate meetings and things that I had, you know, I started my day off by sending 88 invitations to a network marketer list. And I just let my linked helper run. It just runs in the background. I did a few original interactions on LinkedIn. I had some Facebook activity. Then I sent 88 help messages to my insurance agent first connection list, also linked Helper. Then I went through about 35 follow-ups on my LinkedIn follow-up list, scheduled about 10 to 15% of those. So I did all my CRM follow-ups with about 8 individuals, resolved 2, moved 6 over by 1 or 2 days, tended to my LinkedIn new messages and all my alerts, sent like 16 congratulations, etc. messages, did a GMAS to my dumped leads. I had an intro call, a help call, and an ABC call, but I also scheduled from my follow-ups 3 more intro calls, a help call, and 2 ABC calls for the next 1 to 2 days. Made some phone calls, but not nearly enough phone calls. So, you know, these are just busy things that I start to do every single day. They're not on, you know, some of them aren't on the list. The ones that make me uncomfortable, the ones that I forget about are on my list. So just to kind of give you an idea of what I do every day. So that's pretty much what I have for today. Let's make it happen. Let us know how we can help you. Take advantage of now, because that's our gift. That's all we've got. Thanks.
All right, everybody. You can see how the process of the activity day in, day out is going to build you guys a pipeline, and then the follow-up is where the real fortune is in sales and recruiting and building. Got to follow up. And remember, not following up with everybody. We're following up with the people that we're interested in. If you get on a phone call and there's something early on, this person is not a good fit, it's not a good opportunity for a pivot, there's no sense to follow up with that person. They requested the information, you send it out to them. It's 100% in their court in terms of what they do from that point. The other thing that we can really help ourselves up with is the automation. So if you guys have a prospect coming in, yes, we want to follow up with them, but we also want to get them on an automated follow-up or drip email campaign. So that's not manual from our side. And then what happens is if they come into the business as a partner or a client, or we need to dump them because we resolved the lead, we can go back and, you know, extract them back out of that and not have them get that. But any prospect gets into an automated follow-up email system, so that's not on your shoulders. And then you'll be responsible for calling, texting, et cetera, but this will take care of itself. Once again, automation saves you time, and it saves you from yourself. If I had to do everything that I do automated on my own manual, it's almost a 0% chance that it would all and always get done. Remember, as you're talking to people, we're in the midst of an office relocation. We've been virtual for quite some time, but as people, you know, get used to the virtual world, and what we're seeing is in our conversations, our advertisements, our responses, you know, work from home, remote working, virtual working is no longer a shadow-like industry. You know, a number of years ago, it was a very shadow-like industry. There wasn't any validity to working from home. There very much is now. So you need to realize when we're relocating the office to a virtual presence, it cuts down on all of those physical office expenses, both fixed and variable. Those can be reinvested in digital marketing strategies, leads, and automation. So yes, if you have a partner coming in, has little or no money, we have a lot of things they can do organically, but as revenue and income starts to come in, they should reinvest into their business as well as pay themselves for the time they invested to get to this point. So remember, the office relocation now can be a huge advantage for somebody when those funds and expenses are deployed into business growth. Remember, Ray Kroc's 3 rules for success: be at the right place at the right time, recognize the opportunity, take massive action. I have, over the past years, working with some of you guys, there's been times we've been aggressive, we've been patient. This is one of those times to attack. Attack very aggressively, because what you do right now has an immediate impact for you, your business, your family, your partners, your clients, et cetera. But it also springboards you. The next 24 months, 2021, 2022, are going to be very, very, very busy and very, very, very profitable if you set yourselves up correctly. The reasons why you would not be successful in what we have in front of us, the typical things: laziness, fear, overthinking, you're blaming others, you're wasting time, you just don't want it bad enough, you're entitled, you're negative, you have no goals, there's no quality to what you're doing, you're thinking too small, or you just don't believe it will happen. So these are personality defects. These will be things that have a self-sabotage, a great opportunity. Get out of your own way. And you have to believe 100% in what you're doing, that something that you're doing on a daily basis, whether partner or client side of the business or both, is going to change the world in some small, tiny, minute way. What we do is very, very needed, guys, and you can see that financial wellness as an entire business or industry is a huge opportunity. 60% of employees say that financial matters and money challenges are their number one fear. Doesn't go away, guys. It's not like a body ache where it's here and there. Financial stress is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week stress, and it just eats away at our personal relationships, our spirituality, our physical health. So we're not selling, we're serving. Relationships equal transactions, and that's what Alana was trying to map out for you guys. It's not about pitching, selling. It's about networking, prospecting, getting to know people, and then from that information they give you, you can insert yourself as a way to help them when and if appropriate. It's not the 2010s anymore. So when you're talking to people, that decade is long gone. And so when you look at the trends for 2020, what's happening, some of the things are forced on us, like the adoption of virtual, the adoption of digital technologies, et cetera. It's also got some bad things. People losing their jobs. People are not able to support themselves. This has been a big problem, this COVID, for working mothers. As much as 40% have been displaced. So what you have to understand is both the positives and the negatives. You need to know how to talk about that and offer solutions to perceived or known problems in the marketplace. You're well positioned if you allow yourself to be, and if you come across that way in your networking, prospecting, and communication, people are going to naturally gravitate towards you if they feel you can lead them to where they want to go or need to go. Remember, our opportunity is in digital marketing, a very large industry, a huge client need, a distribution model that will build you a cash flow asset that will allow you to go to the right-hand side of the quadrant with business ownership. There's no point of resistance for scalability other than putting the human element in place to help us grow, and there's really no barriers to entry. So when you look at what we're doing, some of this stuff sounds, wall in terms of the language. You have to kind of break this down into an elementary, kindergarten way so people understand what exactly is the opportunity. Remember, people want to know three things. Is it real? Can I do it? What help am I going to get? You need to be able to answer those. And you need to be able to package things up in a way that doesn't have everything out there. A lot of times I'll see something on a LinkedIn post, and you're throwing the entirety, everything, including the kitchen sink out there. It's not going to work because you have to package things up to entice people, to make them interested enough to reach out to you or to ask for additional information. If you give everything on a post or you give everything in an email or whatever it is that you're using as a medium, then there's no reason for the other side to contact you unless they have interest. So you're losing the complete control of the conversation when you do those things. More control you have, bigger your pipeline gets, more follow-up you have, more outcomes you have. If you leave it up to the other side, nothing's going to happen. Last week we went through, how to effectively get on the phone, control conversations, what's wrong if things aren't having a flow to outcomes. It's a very good one to review for your partners as they come in because, once again, if somebody has no money, they got to build it organically. If somebody has money, we still want them to understand what they're doing, so we're not just throwing money at something. We're understanding what needs to be done, and the money acts as a fuel on that fire. So last week we talked about calls, how to get on the phone, why you're not on the phone, what your thinking and mindset is holding you back from. You can always review that. And online, remember, all we're trying to do is educate, entertain, and then get people the appropriate times into a position where we're talking to them. Your followers are a valuable piece of advertising. Engagement still matters, like Alana says, and Alana's been piggybacking off of these people like Gary Vee, where there's tons of likes, there's tons of comments, and she puts something in there that gets liked by several people, drives traffic back to her profile. It's a really great strategy. And then create content that encourages engagement. If you want engagement on your post, ask for it. And then finally, advertise live events. Nobody likes to be on camera. Nobody likes to go out and do these live events. It's not a Hollywood production. Just get in the habit of doing that because once you are able to do that, you're real and authentic. And guess what? That attracts people. They don't want to be communicating with a bot. They don't want to be communicating with a tiered system of communication that you've already set up where you're not interacting with them at all, that's fine on some of the stuff that we do. People want to know that you're real. They want to know that you make mistakes. They want to know that maybe your hair isn't perfect. So understand that what you're doing on a daily basis is building your business or it's not building your business. It's your choice. I got some questions this week about I just don't know what to post. So there's all types of content ideas, and what I stress and what I advise for you guys to do is create some type of a calendar. So you know on Tuesday what you're going to post every Tuesday. So you're not going into the day thinking, you're going into the day with a pre-planned calendar, you know exactly what to do. But there's a lot of things that you can go. I'm not going to go through this whole list, obviously, but I'll post it in the Facebook group. But it's just, sharing stories, sharing events, sharing successes, failures, how-tos, product reviews, all of these things that you can do to continue to build and engage your audience. Ultimately, what's your message? How many people are you going to attract with that message? So if your message is out there and you have a product or service that's much needed, but your message is falling on deaf ears, something wrong with it. Your message has to attract a certain percentage of people. Sometimes it can be little tweaks in the language and verbiage. Sometimes it can be just scratching the overall approach and going back to kind of, point A and starting over. If you have a message that resonates with your audience, which you should have personas built, then a certain percentage of those people at any time are going to raise their hand and ask you for either more information or help, talk, whatever it is that you're offering them, and that builds the pipeline. One of the things that you have to understand is that if you are talking to a bunch of people, then you want to ask a question that either everybody's going to agree with or disagree with. That's how this guy, Billy Mays, he started on the Atlantic City boardwalks. I've told you guys this story before. It's hard to get people to surround your product or service or booth, whatever you want to call it, in that type of an atmosphere where people are constantly walking up and down. So this is what he developed to get people to gather around. It's almost 100% affirmation or disagreement with the quote. So understand, when you're trying to gather a lot of people around, use verbiage and use language and use questions that will do that in a meaningful way. We've got, 80-some days left in this year. I really encourage you guys to go through the end of this year as aggressive as you can. Set a deadline for yourself. And then if you accomplish what you want to accomplish, give yourself a little bonus, whether it's some additional time off, whether it's a trip, no matter what it is. It's going to be unique, specific to you. You're going to have to find something that drives you. We've got a 12-week year that ends on December the 6th. That's kind of like our line in the sand or date that we need to have stuff done by. If you're not in the 12-week year, pick a date, move towards that. You've still got plenty of time in this year to go out and make things happen. With the 12-week year is a process, but if you nail the process, you get to know yourself, fix your personality defects, and really get yourself flowing, you can accomplish more in 1 year than typically what people would accomplish in 4, because you're compressing time frames and you're meeting goals and deadlines in a quicker fashion with more velocity and more emphasis on the value of time, whether that be a day, a week, a month, whatever it might be. You've got to know what to do and then what not to do. So if you're going to make a meme and you're going to spend 15, 20 minutes on it and it gets 8 likes and 1 comment, that's fine. It's part of, building and engaging your audience, right? But that's not the most important thing that you need to do for that day. And those type of activities should be done after the rest of the stuff that's most important, which really equals the stuff that you don't want to do, is actually accomplished. So concentrate on actions that are going to be high leverage for you depending on your goals. Also, take note of your most productive time of the day and dedicate it to that most important work. So meetings, personal phone calls, irrelevant emails, non-business social media, just put it to the side, get the things done, and then sit back and do the other stuff that's less important or the stuff that's just for enjoyment or educational purposes. At this point, with what we put into place in the vertical, how bad do you want it? It's about connections, engagement, and promotion. That's all it is. Opening conversation, being meaningful in that engagement, and leading to outcomes, some yes, some no. But out of the yeses, you're going to build client business, partner business, and obviously your organizational business. Leads are everywhere. And I think that in coming from like dealing with the insurance background for the last few years, people are, well, where are the leads? Where do the leads come from? You have to understand that if you put yourself as a position of an expert or you have expertise in some type of an area, and then you go out and reach people with that level of expertise, helping them in some way, leads are everywhere. And we've been talking about this over the last several weeks. Where do you get leads from? How do you approach different personas? So if you're willing to go out there and open conversations, you live in the era of big data. So there's tons of information out there. There's tons of people on the move. Are you willing to go out and open up enough conversations to have the leads come into your business funnel and get outcomes coming on the back end? The rest of the business, the managerial, the distribution, all of these things you can learn. You'll never get to that point if you don't have enough leads coming through your funnel. So don't worry about the little things in your business. Don't worry about the things that are going to need to be known down the road. We've got you up until that point. Just concentrate on opening conversation, building your funnel, and like Alana said, follow up, follow up, follow up. The learning curve is going to come from the phone. So if you need 1,000 phone calls to feel comfortable and you're doing 10 a day versus 100 a day, well, that's the time frame. So you have to understand it's your choice. How quick do you want to get past the learning curve? How quickly do you want to get to revenue and income? That's going to come from the phone use. Remember, in our model, whether you're starting out in cold marketing, whether you're starting out in social media marketing, which both of these are working very well right now, in a business model like ours, as you have people come in, they open up their books of business. They open up their warm markets. So it's going to create more lead generation. So one of the ways that we create leads is by building offices, because as you have talented people coming in, whether they have books of business or not, they're going to have some type of market they open up. And if you hire X number of people in your office per month and they open up X number of what we call warm market leads, a lot of warm market growth coming from that office, but you can get that by starting in the other markets. When it boils down to it, it's not about the money. It's not about their sales targets or how our campaign went viral. All of these achievements would be something that would never happen and not possible without the right people. So you are a talent scout, and that has not changed. Recruiting is about people, and we're trying to make sure that we match the company's needs and values with the right people in the right role, in the right direction, with the right training, mentorship, coaching, all of those things to help them be successful. Fail to get those aspects right when you're recruiting and hiring, and you're failing your business. It's not about a mass number of people coming in. It's about enough of the right people coming in. You could hire 10 people in a month, or you could hire 2 people in a month and get vastly different outcomes based on how you're bringing people in and the quality of that partner. Remember, people are the linchpin. If you don't get that right, your organization is unable to move forward, grow, and innovate. Understanding what motivates the top talent, the individual, and what demotivates them is paramount to the retention of that candidate. Remember, recruiting does not stop when somebody comes in and enrolls as an agent. You're still recruiting 30, 60, as much as 90 days after that, because you're solidifying their place in your organization if this person is going to be a meaningful part of this distribution model or not, and that's going to come from that 30, 60, 90-day spot. Remember, you put time, energy, resources into people that are worth it. Can't put it into everybody. If they're not willing to meet you halfway and commit, then you are not willing to go out there and do the things that you would for other people that are. Remember, if recruitment is stripped to its core, you're just matching the right person to the right opportunity in the right organization. That's essential, and that's what process starts at the beginning of the initial conversations. Framing the conversation is so important. Puts you in a position of power. Also allows you not to waste your time, their time, our time, like Alana was saying. It's the right kind of people. Therefore, you need to understand what type of individual or character will best suit the team, the direct partner, the company, and the initial challenge. You get through this by getting through some of the learning curve, by maybe bringing in a few of the wrong people and understanding why they didn't make a good fit, bringing in a few of the right people, understanding why they did make a good fit, and then just tightening up your persona and your delivery of the messages to that persona. So what's really happening? What's really going on in your conversations? Because I feel like if we're not getting results, there's problems in the conversation that we can fix if we're committed to fixing those. Now, we're just going to go out and wing it. There's no script, and we just get on the phone, and next thing you know, we've been talking 20 minutes about, their aunt's problems or, all of these things. That is a waste of time. So you have to understand when you're talking to people, you have to be the most confident on the phone. Even if you don't know much about your business and your products yet, you still understand the opportunity. You still understand what we have to offer on the backside. You can still be the most confident, because if you are not, then guess what? The other person on the other line, they're going to feel that weakness, and they're going to come in and start dominating this conversation. And when you lose control, you might as well hang up. You also have to believe. So even if you're brand new, you have to act as if, and you have to live like you already have it, like it's already there, whether it's a money amount, whether it's a number in your organization. It's a done deal. You can see yourself there. You can feel yourself accomplishing that. That's the confidence that has to come out on the phone. So remember, Wayne Gretzky says we're not skating to where the puck is right now. We're going to skate to where the puck's going to be. Same thing with your organization. You have to start thinking like you've got branch offices of 10, 15, 20 set up, because it's going to come out on the phone, and people are going to be attracted to that type of confidence. Also, you've got to be organized. You can't just get on the phone and wing it. You've got to have your questions. You've got to have a structure to the phone call, because if you don't, what you're going to find is there's no endpoint to the conversation. When you funnel it with questions down to an endpoint, remember, the target or the objective has to be known from you and has to be stated to them really in some type of a framing of the conversation, or else it's lost, because like a dog chasing its tail, it's going to go round and round, and you might have several follow-ups, and all of a sudden you realize it's a huge waste of time. Funnel the conversation. Force them to take action steps. And you have to realize when you're dealing with people, they're not creatures of logic. They're creatures of emotion. Once you start to understand that, things become easier, because if you don't understand that, this crash course in human psychology is going to drive you mad. So people are creatures of emotion, and you need to approach the marketplace that way. And that's why one of the best things that works for us is helping people understand our vision, our mission. And David and I were talking about this before the meeting started. It's so important that people understand why you do what you do, because they can buy into that. And that makes the best partners, not somebody that needs to make X amount per month or per year, not someone who's trying to escape, the cultural environment of corporations, but people are actually committed to helping people, have a better financial path, have a roadway to wealth, getting rid of their debt, protecting themselves along the way. Everything that we do, why we do what we do, is going to be one of those things that emotional creatures are going to be able to be attracted to. They can buy into why you do what you do, and that's one of the things that we always talk about that nobody talks about. Everybody talks about what their company does, what the product is, the service is. Some people can even talk about, how they do it, the process. But very few companies and individuals and organizations can clearly articulate why they do what they do. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. Understand that, inject that into the conversation. It will greatly help you. Also, you got to set ground rules. So when you're on the phone, whether you're dealing with clients, partners, you've got to set some ground rules up front. That's framing the conversation, helping them understand what's going to happen in that phone call, and then on the end of the phone call, helping them understand the next steps, what's going to happen from this point. You got to set the purpose. You've got to allocate a time frame. You've got to agree on some type of an outcome, and you've got to summarize the next actions. When you do this, people either fall in line or they give you a reason why they can't. They give you a reason why they can't. It's much easier to get rid of that early than after you spent one phone call, two phone calls, three phone calls, whatever that might be. Set the ground rules. People will either fall in line or not. The people that fall in line will be easy to continue and direct towards final action steps and outcomes. Always, always, always be thinking about in your head, what's the next step? What's the target objective for this particular action? And what's the next step that I want the other side to take, and be able to articulate that to them. Also, flip the script, take it away. When you always are, coming across pitching, selling, recruiting, it's kind of a needy way to be in the marketplace. And you can feel that when people are sending you LinkedIn messages, when they're sending you emails, when you get some random text, it's very needy. You have to flip the script and you have to take it away. And once you start to take it away, what you realize is that a lot of people want stuff that they know that they can't have. So they'll start asking questions. So once again, coming from a position of power, taking things away allows you to control that conversation. Also, it's a turnkey business system. We have all of these marketing assets. We have a system. Everything's in place. Plug and play, predictable, profitable. That's very valuable in our current environment. There's a lot of people that are setting up businesses online, virtual businesses that are just kind of testing, implementing, ready to go. That is another factor with the takeaway that can greatly help you guys control conversations, because now you're not asking somebody to come on. Now you're interviewing, and I tell people, I can only bring in so many people at a time. There's time, energy, resources going into every new partner. Explain to me two things. Number one, why you're interested in this, and number two, why you would make a good fit. So once again, you're forcing other people to sell you on why you should take them in. It's just about changing a little bit of the conversation, taking control. It definitely works, guys. And then being able to show somebody or tell somebody or explain to somebody how you actually become successful in what you're trying to accomplish, and seeing if that's something they can commit to with your help. Also, and Lana nailed this in the opening part, don't just continue to beat something in if it's not fitting into that particular mold. If somebody is not as interested as you need them to be, or if there's some other variable reason that they can't commit to what we need them to commit to on the partner side, if it makes sense, pivot over to the client side and don't pause, just pivot naturally. Well, hey, it sounds like, for this reason or this reason that the partner side of the business is not going to be an option at this time. I would really like you to see what we're doing for the client side, or if there's not the level of interest that you need, perfect pivot. Hey, I see the level of interest is high, but it's not high enough to where we would say, okay, let's move on to the next step. You really need to see what we do for the client side. And then at least you may get a client sale out of that. You're at least getting a client presentation. And out of that, they might be getting excited to the point that 6 or 7 moves up to a 9 or a 10. It's time to take a stand, and that's what you're asking your partners to do, or your potential partners to do, and that's what you're asking your clients to do. It's time to take a stand, and it's time to take a stand today. So you're always emphasizing the urgency of the next steps, because A, you're busy, B, this is a good opportunity, C, if you're talking about the products, insert Y, urgency, today, take action now, because if you leave it, like we talked about, up to the other side, they're going to want to follow up and get a bunch of emails and some ebooks and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, all of those are just procrastination tactics. You're ultimately trying to do this, and this is one of the best advices I can give you guys when building a business. In the beginning, you're going to be excited when somebody picks up that phone, and what you're going to find is you're sending out a lot of videos, and then nobody's on the follow-up date. All that tells you is you didn't frame that conversation well enough, and you didn't build enough interest so that when you led to the action step, they're actually going to take it. So what you're looking for is people that are 50-50? No. Don't have those people come in your organization, because that's just a number. They're probably never going to do anything. Try to pivot those people to the client side when appropriate. But ultimately what you're doing is you're trying to bring in the people that are all in. Hey, I want to be successful. I understand what you guys are doing. I understand the mission. I'm fully behind it. Let's get going. How do I get started? That's what you're looking for, because you can't create the fire in people. You just want to bring in the people that have the fire like you. Surround yourself with those people and watch what happens, because you get a bunch of people on the same wavelength operating together on a positive note, creates almost like a super brain environment where the collection of all you guys working together starts to do great things. But it all starts with you, and you got to light that match and that fire. So do we have a plan in place for our potential partners, our potential clients? Everybody wants something. Everybody wants the end result. Very few people actually have a plan in place. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. I tell people that all the time. Like, hey, what you want from what I'm hearing in the conversation is great. You have no idea how to get there. Is that a statement that you would agree with? They say yes. Remember, one of the things that we want to accomplish on that call is helping people understand they don't know how to do it, they can't do it alone, or they can't do it fast enough to get where they want to go. That's where we come in. And Bear Bryant, great quote, have a plan, follow the plan, and you'll be surprised how successful you can actually be. Most people don't have a plan. That's why it's easy to beat most folks. So whether it's on the client side, the partner side, you're reiterating, we have a plan of action that we can help you out with that can get you to goal A, B, C, whatever it is that you want to get to, if you're willing to make the commitment, if you're willing to develop a plan and follow our lead. Plans have to be certain and specific. It can't just be random. Having something meaningful going on day to day for your life and your business. What am I doing? When am I doing it? And why am I doing it? Fill your calendar up. If you don't have appointments in the beginning, fill your calendar up with call blocks. Fill it up so that when you look at your calendar, it's not all white, it's not all blank, because that starts to bring in internally, some doubts. Oh, maybe I can't do this. Maybe this isn't for me. Fill it up. Be busy until the calendar is busy itself. Hope that makes sense. And you got to be proactive. You got to go out there and make it happen. Remember, this isn't something we're just waiting on. We didn't win some type of a big settlement or a big lottery, and we're waiting on our proceeds. You got to go out and make it happen. And if you're sitting back, if you send a bunch of emails and wait for somebody to respond back, most of the time nothing's going to happen. You got to be the aggressive one. You got to open conversations. I promise you. I'm pretty sure that the most contacts and the most conversations is going to win here, because we can help you with any deficiencies that you have in the beginning or ongoing. You don't have to do everything, but you do have to do that up front, and you have to be diligent and consecutive with your activity. I have a goal for myself as 3 direct partners coming in my direct branch office, and then I have a goal of 10 as an office build-out. If you get up to these levels, whether you're using UFF as a standalone business or whether you've got a conjoined model with UFF and VF, this should be what you look at. And if you look at the numbers on UFF, there's a lot of salespeople in that organization, very few builders. We can take that platform over if you guys are, willing to put in the work. So 3 direct partners, 10 base shop growth, really get your offices moving into a distribution model. Another thing that you have to do is you got to contact your team. Remember, if we're talking about 90 days in, 60, 90, we're still going through the recruitment process to build that solid player and partner. You got to conversate with them. You got to communicate with them. You got to help them. Send out stuff that can potentially aid them and let them know that, hey, the first part of this business build out, not going to candy coat it. This is a survival period. The reason that I brought you on is because I think you can get past this. I think you can build a dynamite organization, but you can't skip this step. Honesty is the best policy, guys. Don't bring people on false pretenses where they're going to, send out some LinkedIn messages and start receiving direct deposits. That's not how this works. You're looking for a process where you're putting time into a person and they're going to be like a baby, very dependent on you in the beginning. After a while, they're going to be on some meetings. You're going to see some stuff. They're going to pick up some of the things that they weren't able to do in the beginning. They're going to become interdependent. From that point, it's more about coaching, mentoring, just being there for the tough stuff they still can't get through. And ultimately, through this process, you're going to create independence, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for branch offices that you help create. You guys have a business relationship, probably a personal relationship. They don't need you. They're not putting stuff on your calendar. You're probably talking a couple times a week. They know that you've got their back in case you need them, but they're out doing their own thing. And distribution is king in any industry, but especially one like financial services that's measured in trillions. You got to lead by example. So remember, if you're out there telling people to do stuff and you're not doing it yourself, they're not going to follow, and they're going to lose confidence in your ability to lead them. So you got to be a mentor. You got to understand the value of teamwork. You've got to have an overwhelming, pressing need to win for yourself and your team. You've got to know how to motivate, and that really comes through inspiring, coaching, and a reconnection continuously to the vision for our company, our organization, and then our personal vision. That develops a whatever it takes mentality, because if you've got a product or service that's much needed, you've got a huge industry where you don't have to manufacture the need, you just have to go out there and let people know this is available as a product, service, and as a business opportunity. Whatever it takes will get you to where you want to go. But if you're not sure, you're undecided in terms of your commitment to the activity for this business, You're going to fall short, and you're going to watch a lot of people pass you by. Not going to be a fun experience. Also remember, it's going to look like this when probably in the beginning you wanted it to look like this. We have a legit business opportunity. We do not have a problem-free business opportunity. Part of being an entrepreneur, part of being a leader is about solving problems. And you have to stay calm under pressure, because if people come to you and they have problems and you just fixate on the problem itself, that's what you're teaching them to do. If you start fixating on the solution instead of the problem, people will pick that up too. They're going to follow your lead or your lack of lead. Also, speed. Just get out there. It's not about knowing everything. The people that have to know everything, they never do anything. Just get out there, mess up, say the wrong stuff, break stuff, whatever it is that you need to do. Just do it in a quick manner so that learning curve you get through that a lot quicker. And you have to bring intensity. You got to go for it. If there's, millions of dollars in distribution out there, there's equity ownership, there's all these things that are right in front of you. What are you doing? You've got to bring intensity each and every day. You've got to really go for it. And you've got to bring some self-discipline. This will be the biggest contributing factor to failure in everything that we look at in both sides of the business is the lack of self-discipline, because goals and accomplishment are only met with that bridge of self-discipline. And especially going forward, guys, average is not going to pay. You got to stop procrastinating. And Eric Thomas, when I stopped procrastinating, I saw my money change. I saw my life change. So today, what is it that we're going to do? Each and every day, you've got to have a plan of action. You've got to attack that plan of action for execution. There's a lot more to come. I feel like we're just getting started. This is the first wave. This is going to be a dominant next 24 to 36 months for the right people. Your life can change, your family's life can change, or it can remain the same. And that's what I'm trying to stress to you guys. It is 100% up to you in terms of what you do or what you don't do.
That was such a great training, Mike. I hope that you all got out of it as much as I did. Let me go ahead and stop the recording, and then we'll open up the floor for questions, comments, anything at all. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.